Hey everybody, how's it going? Christian from Treasure Town here, and today we're going to be talking about world coins, basically the 101, and I'm going to try to give some slightly advanced tips, but as you can see, here's my collection of world coins. It's probably my favorite way to collect coins, my favorite collection that I have. I personally, this is a kind of big fact about me, I don't have a huge collection myself, across the board, especially not with too much valuable coinage. This is a way that I've really enjoyed collecting, so I figured, and plus I do a lot of content on world coins, so I figured that we do a video on it. It's something a lot of people have asked me for, and it's basically the full picture of how to collect these, and there's a lot of positives. I'm going to probably try to convince you to start a coin collection with the world focus. And then there's also a few drawbacks or just things that you should think about before you start collecting world coins. So anyways, excited to get into it. I've got probably a bunch of stuff, and I think as we do it, we'll go through what I've got so far kind of in front of me. So hopefully you can see some cool countries and issuing entities, and there's a lot of stuff to get into. So let's just go for it. And let's get into it. I did say that I would give you the full overview, and I must say that there is so much depth within world coin collecting, which right off the bat is going to be one of its pros, that it's going to be challenging for me to talk about literally everything. But I figured I would just kind of flip through what I have, and I'll give a little bit of background on my collection. I think this is a super fun way to do it. I'm going for one of each issuing entity. I may have talked about it in the intro, but basically I'm going for every country that has existed in the past and now, and that includes regions. So, here's an Afghanistani coin, but then here is an Alabama sales tax token from the United States. It's a state, and they issued some, so that also goes in the collection. So really anything new I would put in the collection, which is kind of exciting because, if you want to be a completionist, this might be a challenging one to go after. Just because there's probably more issuing entities than anybody could ever collect, but it's a fun way to keep going and really learn a lot about the history behind the world. But I guess to start kind of backpedaling a little bit, so world coins, obviously, that means any coin in the world. I'm from the United States, so in my mind, I'm thinking coins outside of the United States, but really wherever you are, you can start a world coin collection. Here's an example, Ascension Island. I think that this is just like an island from the, that was controlled by the United Kingdom. Really not a country, but it's going in this set. Anyways, and this is a really, so it can be any place in the world, and tons of countries have made tons of coins, and many of them, like the one in front of us, are no longer, you can't actually spend them, so the value can be quite low on a lot of them, really, despite them being pretty cool coinage. So that, makes for a lot of space to have a lot of fun with coin collecting, I think, because it's really not the case that you need to have all the rarest stuff. I think that that's a big mistake that people make, is that they try to go after the super rare things, and the world coins are pretty neat because you can start out super basic, getting some fun coins. You can probably go to a local coin shop and pay by the pound, $6-7 a pound, something like that. Actually, it's probably, these days it's a little higher, maybe call it $9 or $10 a pound, but the point is, that's going to be a lot of coins, maybe 150 coins or so in there, 100 coins, quite a nice variety, and you can just kind of get started that way, or maybe you got some in a drawer, you found a few coins laying around, and so, it's quite easy to get into, and then obviously tons of depth because there are a lot of silver and gold world coins, there's plenty of copper world coins that are quite old, you even get into ancient and medieval coins. There's all these sorts of like German states and these Italian states before Europe really kind of formed into the modern nations. You can collect, there's Islamic coinage, there's kind of Indian coinage, ancient Chinese, Japanese coinage, all over the world. There are so many ways to get involved with this, and you can be a real special collector. So there's one person I know, and I believe that they do kind of Rhodesian coinage. That's their specialty, and they just get super involved with that. And it's fun because also compared to United States coinage, and this is just turning into me talking about everything kind of rambling about world coins, but you can get pretty rare coinage, or at least pretty cool and interesting coinage for fractions of the price that you would have to pay if it was a U.S. coin. So there's tons of 1800s large world coins, especially from Europe, that are copper that you can probably pay less than $1 each for. It'll be pretty worn down, but you can also get some very low mintage things, some really rare, or even like the finest known coins in existence for not a lot of money. And I think that that's something really nice about the world coins. And I think that you also get a huge amount of history with them. So learning how to identify the coins that you're finding. There's so much history. I mean, here's an example. I'm pulling up Canada. It looks like we've got George V, King George V. Then you realize that Canada has had a long history of ties to the Crown and Great Britain. I'm trying to think. Cape Verde here. This may be, it says colony of Cape Verde. It might be Portugal or something. Yeah, exactly. So there's so much history on all of these, and you learn geography kind of from a basic perspective. But I do feel like you get a better understanding of a lot of the intricacies of the world. Like Ceylon, I want to say that that's like colony version of Sri Lanka. But and there you see Emperor of India. It was part of India at one point. I'm sure that was Sri Lanka now. And there's just so much coinage for, again, not expensive prices, which is really prohibitive if you want to collect rare 1800s or key date United States coins. The tax situation will get, or not the tax, I'm seeing a tax token in front of me. The price situation is going to get pretty challenging quickly. And again, you can get in at any level. You could become a specialize in, whatever this sort of lettering is, some very kind of specific places, and just really learn and delve a lot into monetary history. Because if you think about it, I mean, the money systems is really what makes up. That's why we tick today as a society, and the world. It's all based. The money has been integral in that throughout the ages, basically. So having some depth there and understanding is something that is really fun, and WorldCoins can pretty cheaply provide you with. I'm trying to think some of the other pros. I mean, there's also a lot less, it's less known and less explored, so there is good room from a financial perspective if you really know what you're doing, and you know the right people in terms of how to place coins. There's a lot, it's more of a Wild West compared to U.S. coinage. People know U.S. coinage really well. There's not as much, there's less discoveries being made, and there's a lot more money right now in U.S. coins, but maybe in the future that possibly could change. Pause. Check this out. 1767 Danish West Indies. That's a neat coin. And so I think that there, from a dealing perspective, there's people who absolutely do world coins, and it looks a little different. That's something that I can coach less on, is like high-end world coin dealing. That's one of the topics that I don't feel comfortable talking about, just because I don't want to mislead people. I take it seriously in terms of educating people, but those are a lot of the pros. In terms of different ways you can collect, I mean, I know people who literally will collect animal coins, or they'll just go out of bulk bins and try to amass a cool collection. Some of these coins here I've purchased online. None of them, probably the most I've spent on a coin here, maybe I'm wrong, but it's like 15 or 20 bucks, and most of them are far less. So anyways, it's been a super cheap but like interesting and historical set for me to put together. Fun to go around, and it's always nice to cross another entity off my list, or realize that I am not you're currently looking for one. You could also do, say, a more budget-friendly one would be only official countries at the moment. You could go by UNICEF or whatever entity, gets to choose what the actual countries are considered as. You could go for your continent. So say you were in Argentina, you could try to put together a set of all of the, to start, you could just do all of the current countries in South America, and then maybe move into some of the former colonies and regions, and maybe regional Argentinian currency. There's so much, you can really pick and choose, and it's not like there's a competition with the world to have, world coin collections. There is a little these days with the PCGS and maybe NGC, but PCGS is really where it happens with set registry. That can kind of be a competition, and you can definitely do a registry of non-US coins. But I think one thing I like about World Coins is it's not like a super competitive landscape. It's more just, enjoying these pretty interesting and, again, historical coins. You could, again, go deep into ancient coins or coins from a specific emperor, or medieval. There's so many different time periods because it goes back to several hundred years before Christ, in terms of how long coins have been in existence for. One idea for, I'm trying to think, I know a Morgan dollar would certainly be a crown-sized coin, so I don't know if I'll have time to get through the entirety of my collection as it stands. I'll do a collection video and talk about them more in depth another time. But you could try to do a crown-sized silver. That's a little more expensive world coin collection of coins similar to the Morgan dollar in terms of their size, silver ones from around the world. That would be a pretty neat collection. Or you could try to get a coin from before 1900 from each of the countries out there. I mean, that would add a little bit of depth and a challenge to it. I'm trying to think. You could do a silver coin from each country. That would be kind of fun. Or you could only do entities that don't exist. British India maybe being an example of one, whereas maybe you leave this more modern Indian coin off the list, and the Portuguese would go on it. You could do, again, the states. You could look at your heritage if you're familiar. So say you are Russian, you could try to collect a lot of Russian Empire coinage and then go back to pre-Russian Empire, really delve deep into wherever your heritage is. That's kind of an idea. So what I'm trying to say is there are so many ideas, and you can get really cheap and you can get really expensive with it. And I'm probably like 2 out of 5, where 5 is the most expensive. This is a fun set, but I'm really not spending too much money. I'm more just looking at the coins that come by my way. And obviously there's a few nice coins in here. I mean, I don't know what that's worth, but that's like a $10 coin. That's not nice. It's not like this is just $10 of coins I ordered off of eBay. And it's certainly been a hassle to put it all together in terms of getting them in the flips. But this is something that I have really enjoyed doing, and I think it's interesting. I haven't gotten to show too many people it, but I think that it is a neat kind of testament to world history, that sort of thing. In terms of some advice, and then I'll get into a few drawbacks, because I'm going to try to sneak those in at the end of the video, because I don't want to talk about any of the drawbacks of world coin collecting, or the warnings, you know what I mean. I would say take the time to learn the history of the coins. Makes it a lot more fun. You get a better sense of where we are at as a world, by seeing the history behind the coins in your collection. There's a ton to learn, and I think it'll just make it way more fun, and I could be better about doing this, but I feel like I do a somewhat of an effort towards that, and it makes it so much more fun to collect this stuff, because then you really have an appreciation for the coins that are in your collection. I would also, if you have a country of interest, learn how the coinage evolves. And this pretty much goes into knowing the history, but you'll see, when do the countries transition out of silver? Did they have a hyperinflationary period? Did they go through a colonial time? Did they have, a time when they revalued or demonetized their coinage, like this Mexican peso? Did they have sales tax tokens when the Great Depression hit? Or I don't know much about Moldova. Outside of that, it's kind of in Southeast Europe. But when did the leu start? And is it, it looks like it didn't get folded up into the euro. How does it trade relative to the dollar and the euro in terms of the exchange rate? Or, when it's like that. This is something I could do better, but that's Mongo in terms of the pronunciation. Or maybe I'm missing that. But, if it's non-US lettering, learn a little bit more about the pronunciation. There's so much, like I'm saying, there's so many ideas here. And then I'll go to a few quick things. I don't think that there are really drawbacks, but in some sense there are. There's not a huge, the market for this stuff, the really high-end coins. And this doesn't really apply because ancient and medieval, a whole different beast, just a lot of value there. But like a lot of the more common recent world coins, there's less of a market for. And that's kind of the same with the US stuff. But it's a lot easier to get started buying and selling US coins. A lot more people are doing it though, and you won't probably get to be the top of the U.S. market for a long time. If you probably would have to devote your life to doing it in terms of just totally understanding the market and the flows. I mean, world coins, maybe there's more opportunity, but there also could be less immediate resources for learning tons about this stuff. I think that's getting better. The internet certainly has a ton of stuff migrate online, but that's definitely something that I would think about or be aware of, that the information might be slightly less. Though I would say aggregate, there's more information on world coins than US coins, for example. Overall, it just might be less of an extremely specific history. I think that there's less kind of legendary coins or really, registry players driving that high end of the market, if that is a big thing that matters. But I think that that's kind of changing a little bit. I think more world coins are getting graded. I think that that's a big difference. There's a lot less grading that happens with the world coins, partially because of set registry, but that's just kind of how the market has sort of evolved, and that's just how it is. Not the most helpful thing, but that's definitely a trend that I've observed. I think that it's also less liquid, so if you have a big world coin collection, it's going to be tougher to sell it, and certainly tougher to sell it quickly. I'm going to maybe switch hands here, because the market, any coin shop will pay likely 75% of coin shops will make you a fair offer on your Morgan dollars. It's going to be a lot tougher to get fair value for your, Peruvian 5 sol. I think that's the denomination, or your Nicaraguan Cordoba from 1912. I mean, that you can have rare coins, but it makes sense. I mean, they'll have to do a lot more effort to sell it. It's not as easy you can't just auction it, most likely, if it's like $100 or $200 coin. So it's just a lot less liquid. I would get crushed if I resold these to a coin shop, and even if I sold it on eBay, I probably would not get what I had put into the collection. I'm fine with that, but it's something that I know as I'm doing it. I'm not doing this as like a sneaky investment even. I'm just doing it as like a cool thing because I really like coins, and this is a fun way to collect. And I think a fun way to collect without like the financial thing in the back of my mind. Like a lot of these coins this coin is worth like probably 10 cents or so. And that's the same with a fair amount of these. There's certainly some that are good, but most of these coins could be thrown in like a bulk bag. And then lastly, I would just say it can be kind of annoying in terms of if you are buying super low value coins on eBay individually. Like, it can be a challenge to get fair prices. It's tough if you have to go through. It's tough to go online to always get fair. There's a lot of really bad lots online. That's something that I've had to deal with, and I've certainly purchased and got crushed on a lot of them. But that's really the same with the U.S. stuff, so that's not really a drawback, but just something to think about. I think the main drawbacks are more the liquidity and the fact that it can be challenging to sell your coins quickly, and that it's probably less of like a hot market. But I kind of like that in terms of like a purist, like I really enjoy this collecting and the collecting aspect of things. But anyways, that brings me to the end of this, and I'll have to do a detailed video going into specifics on the coins, how I've built this set, and all that sort of thing. It worked out well that I didn't show you everything, and hopefully by then I'll have made some new pickups. Maybe I'll go buy $50 or something worth of coins on eBay and add them to this collection sometime soon. I always try to do that at least once a year, and maybe we can expand that budget a little bit going forward as we get into some of the more challenging entities to take on. But thank you so much for watching, and I will look forward to seeing you on some of my other videos. If you enjoyed this, I do plan on making more world coin content, also outside of just the main sort of like world coin half pound and pound grab bag type videos, though that will be a few months before that comes into effect. But thank you so much, and feel free to leave any comments, and check out this cool little display case. I'll have to go into more detail when I make the dedicated video to this collection. Thanks for watching the video. I'd encourage you to like, comment, and definitely subscribe to the channel and connect with me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I also have a website, treasuretown.yt.com, where you should go so that you can learn more about coins as well as what's happening on the channel and possibly find a place to sell your coins and collectibles. I also want to talk about some of my other projects like coinmeltprice.com, which shows precious metals prices as well as the melt values of coins containing those precious metals, both US and world. I also have coinsmetalscards.com, which will develop into a full marketplace as well as a news source for coins, metals, cards, as the name might suggest. And then treasuretowncoins.com, which long term will be my coin dealing entity separate from the channel. And lastly, whatsthegrade.com, which will be a stickering service for already certified collectibles where you can get a approval or verification of the grade on the holder. Hope you have a wonderful day, and I look forward to seeing you on some of my other videos.